You finally say no to someone, and suddenly they sigh. Wow, I guess I just don't matter to you anymore. Instantly, you feel it, that tightness in your chest. So you start explaining yourself, and somehow, 5 minutes later, you're apologizing for something that was never your fault. If that's ever happened to you, you're not weak and you're not overly sensitive. You just got caught in one of the oldest social tactics there is. And oddly enough, the response that actually shuts it down isn't a smarter comeback. It isn't confidence. It isn't calling the person out. It's something far simpler, and almost nobody does it. Here's the part most people miss. A guilt trip isn't really about guilt at all. Guilt is just the tool. What the other person actually wants is control over your next move. Once you understand that, everything about how to respond changes. Let's look at how this actually plays out. A parent says, "After everything I've sacrificed for this family, this is how you treat me?" A partner says, "If you really loved me, you wouldn't even need to think about it." A friend says, "I guess I just care about this friendship more than you do." Most people respond the same way every time. They defend themselves. "That's not fair," or "You're twisting what I said." It feels natural. It feels like standing up for yourself. But here's the problem. Behavioral psychology has a name for what you're actually doing when you defend yourself: reinforcement. Every time you explain, justify, or argue back, you're teaching the other person that the guilt trip still works. It doesn't matter that you're pushing back. What matters is that you reacted at all. To a manipulator, your defensiveness and your apology look almost identical. Both tell them the tactic landed. This is where almost everyone makes the same mistake. They think the fix is a better argument. It's not. The fix is removing the reward entirely. Psychologists have long observed that a behavior which stops getting reinforced tends to fade over time, a process called extinction. A guilt trip is a behavior like any other. If it keeps producing explanations, apologies, or anxious over talking, it keeps working. If it produces nothing for the other person to use, it starts to break down, often within a few attempts. So what do you actually do in the moment? This is where the ARC method comes in. A is for acknowledge. When the guilt trip lands, don't argue and don't defend. Just acknowledge it without agreeing to it. Person says, "After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me?" Most people say, "No, that's not what I meant. Instead you say, I hear that you're upset." That's it. Flat, calm, done. This single line takes away their leverage, because a guilt trip only works if you argue against it. An argument gives them fresh material. A flat acknowledgement gives them nothing to hold on to. R is for repeat. They'll usually push again. This is where you don't get creative. You repeat your position, almost word for word, like a recording. They say, "You clearly don't care about my feelings." You say, again, calmly, "I hear you, and I'm still not able to do that." Here's the part that surprises people. The repetition isn't laziness. It's the entire point. Manipulation tactics rely on wearing you down through repetition. When you use the exact same calm response every time, you're showing them that repetition doesn't get a different result with you. You've taken their own tool and pointed it back at them. C is for close. Once you've acknowledged and repeated your position, you end it, warmly, without drama. "I love you, and I'm still doing it my way." Let's talk about something else. No slammed doors, no last word, no walking away angry. You simply stop supplying the conversation with fuel. And this is what actually stings for a manipulator. Not your anger, but your absence of reaction. There's a concept called cognitive dissonance, the discomfort of holding two conflicting realities at once. They expected guilt to produce a reaction. It produced nothing. That mismatch is uncomfortable, and it's theirs to sit with now, not yours. Now here's the twist most people don't expect. The moment you stop explaining yourself, the other person is no longer listening to understand you. During a guilt trip, they were never really listening to understand you in the first place. They were listening for the next sentence they could use against you. Once you stop feeding them sentences, that entire strategy runs out of material on its own. A quick note, because this matters. This method works well for everyday guilt tripping, from parents, partners, friends, or coworkers who are testing a boundary. It is not a substitute for leaving a genuinely abusive or coercive situation, and it isn't meant to replace real support if you're in one. The strongest people in these moments aren't the ones with the perfect comeback. They're the ones who don't let someone else decide how they're allowed to feel. Because once guilt stops controlling you, Manipulation loses the only thing it was ever built on. Stay grounded. Stay free.